For some reason, it took the release of a mediocre Switch game for a company to even want to redesign the Joy-Con. It's really interesting that HORI is the only company that's making aftermarket Joy-Con, besides these knockoff ones. The HORI Split Pad Pro really takes the Switch to another level though, because it changes the entire footprint of the Switch itself. When these things are slotted in, playing in portable mode makes it feel like you're using a completely different device. If you're like me and you think that the Joy-Con are way too small and uncomfortable to be playing in portable mode, then the Split Pad Pro might be for you. Keep in mind, these will only work in portable mode. They do not have wireless, they do not have a battery in them, they do not have motion controls, they do not have rumble. It is just a plastic shell with buttons. This controller is only good for games that don't have motion controls and that you would want to play in portable mode. Maybe Daemon X Machina is that game for you. Except that that game has optional motion controls. They added that after soliciting feedback from their demo a while back. Unfortunately, that didn't help the game too much. Keep in mind that the Switch unit itself does not have motion sensing capability. That is within the Joy-Con themselves. So when you're using the Split Pad Pro, it loses all motion sensing capability. That means aiming in Breath of the Wild might be a problem. That means you won't be able to play Pokemon Let's Go at all. The Split Pad Pro sports a turbo button on each side of the controller and an assignable button on the back. These buttons can be assigned to any button on the controller, including the middle click on the thumbstick. However, each split pad is independent of each other, so you cannot assign a button that is on the right side of the Switch to the assignable button on the left side of the Switch. This means that the left assignable button can only have the D-pad, shoulder buttons, or the left thumbstick click mapped to it. That is very unfortunate because that limits the use case tremendously. The buttons are very easy to assign though. You just hold the assign button and then press whatever button you want mapped. If you want to disable it, just press the assign button and then the button on the back. These buttons stay out of the way for the most part. It's not in a place that requires support from your hands to hold the Switch up. There might be some accidental presses, but it's pretty rare and you can always disable them if that becomes an issue. Otherwise, it has all of the same buttons that a regular Nintendo controller would have. The biggest difference here is the feel. It is very comfortable. It's nice and meaty and has just enough grip where it feels like you're holding a serious gaming device. This thing definitely transforms your Switch into something a little bit more professional, which is a stupid thing to say about a gaming device for kids, but it does earn the Pro moniker. Your hands sit further apart than normal, which is a weird thing to adjust to. The thumbsticks are nice and big too, which feels fantastic. It feels like they have one of those thumbstick grips already built onto them. The D-pad is also phenomenal. The D-pad on the HORI D-pad controller feels pretty similar, but because there's a lot more room on this controller, and because the thumbstick and the D-pad aren't parallel to each other, it still feels way nicer to play 2D games on here using the D-pad than it does on the D-pad controller. And obviously, it's better than an actual Joy-Con because that D-pad is not a D-pad. The face buttons are huge, about the same size as a Pro controller's face buttons, maybe slightly smaller. Because the front of the controller is curved, all of the buttons have different heights, but they all have the same level of travel internally, so it feels fine. The biggest downside of this controller is that it feels so plasticky and cheap. The D-pad controller didn't feel that way. That felt more like an actual Switch Joy-Con. They did a pretty good job of replicating the build quality of an actual Switch Joy-Con. It certainly felt light, but the components felt quality. The Split Pad Pro also feels light. You should expect that considering there's no components in here, but it is a little off-putting for a device that adds so much mass to your Nintendo Switch. The whole thing just feels like it's made out of cheap plastic, which is even more unfortunate because the thing is $50. The HORI D-pad controller retails for $25, so I guess HORI just decided they would multiply that by 2, but you could find the D-pad controller on Amazon for just 15 bucks. I think they could have gone a little cheaper on the Split Pad Pro, but don't worry, I'm sure in about a month or so you'll be able to find it on Amazon for about 40 bucks, which I think is a much more reasonable price, even though it's only $10 cheaper. Making the Switch massive has its merits in that it is way more comfortable now. But this is essentially the anti-Switch Lite. It is not as portable anymore. I would consider this a good accessory for people who just like playing their Switch in portable mode around the house, maybe lying on the couch while watching TV. They don't currently make a case that would help you carry this monstrosity around with you. It's probably worth it to just deal with the Joy-Con when you're taking the Switch out and about with you and compromise that comfort for portability. It's not like using the Joy-Con is torture, it's fine. It's just that there's way more comfortable ways to use the Switch, and this is one of them. Even though the Split Pad Pro makes your Switch way bigger, it will still fit in your dock. There's these things that stick out in the back. I don't really know what those are for, but they don't get in the way of the dock at all. They sit kind of on top. Somebody asked me if the Split Pad Pro is better than the Satisfy grip, and I had to think about that for a second because it is really comfortable. I think in terms of ergonomics, yes, the Split Pad Pro is more comfortable because it's a completely different controller layout. Each side of the controller doesn't have to be symmetrical. The buttons and thumbsticks are angled so that pivoting your thumb is more comfortable. It's actually what the Satisfy grip tries to emulate with its offset right handle. The Split Pad Pro actually fixes a lot of what I don't like about the Joy-Con. However, it feels cheap. It does not have motion controls, rumble, and it cannot be used wirelessly. So the Satisfy grip might still be a good option if you don't want to compromise on all of those other things. Not to mention, they make a case for the Satisfy grip and they don't make a case for this thing. Full disclosure, we often get sponsored by Satisfy. We have a bunch of videos that were sponsored by them. This video is not sponsored by them. Somebody asked, so I answered. I'm not sure why they chose Daemon X Machina to market this controller. This thing will give you no advantage whatsoever in Daemon X Machina besides comfort in portable mode, which it will do for many other games too. The buttons aren't laid out in a special way to help you with the game. The assignable buttons don't add anything to the game, I don't think. It's just a marketing thing, I guess. The game itself is alright. You can't pet the dog, which is something that's gonna need to be addressed. It feels way better than the last demo they did back in February. It looks like they actually did take everyone's feedback into consideration. It's way more fluid and easy to control the mech, and your shots feel like they have a lot of oomph to them. But the game itself is just kind of full of bullet sponges. It's alright. There's a new updated free demo out right now. Try that out before you shell out the dollars to buy the full game. The Split Pad Pro is something that Nintendo should have made a long time ago. Slap some motion controls in there. We don't really need wireless because that's not what this thing is for. Motion is the only thing that you might miss. Nintendo could get away with selling that for $50 or maybe even $60. This might be officially licensed by Nintendo, but it's made by HORI. It feels fantastic, and if comfort in portable mode is your biggest concern, this is a good option. But I'm just not sure the build quality warrants a $50 price tag. Plus, this can't completely replace your Joy-Con because it's missing some of the features. If you have the money, then sure, go for it, but if not, just wait for a sale. There's also this thing, the iPega Tomahawk, which might be cool for small children because it completely encases the Switch, so if you drop it, it won't get damaged. It's only $30, but the controller layout looks weird and the whole thing just looks like f***ing ass. So what do you guys think about the HORI Split Pad Pro and Daemon X Machina? Why not? What games do you think this will help you out with? Or do you just want something to play comfortably in portable mode? Or are you upset that this won't work with certain games because of the missing motion controls? And wireless, I guess. Like, for example, this would make shooters way more comfortable to play because of the right thumbstick, but games like Warframe aren't going to play as good because I need those motion controls for the sniping. I won't be able to play Splatoon with this thing. And Overwatch also is going to have that similar type of motion controls that Warframe has, so that's going to be a problem. But for everything else, for 2D games like Mario Maker, like the SNES games that you need a D-pad for, like Celeste, maybe even games like Smash Brothers where you don't need motion controls, this thing is pretty solid. Anyway, I'm supposed to be done talking now. This is what I'm asking what you guys think. Leave it in the comments below. Add me on Twitter. And all this other social media garbage. We got new videos and live streams all the time. Our schedule is usually in a pinned tweet. Over on Twitter, we got Wulff Den live every single Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time here on YouTube. And we got Twitch streams over on twitch.tv/WulffDen. You can support the channel here on YouTube by becoming a member, or you can go over to Twitch and support us there. With Amazon Prime, you link it to your Twitch account, you get Twitch Prime, it's free. You link either of those accounts to your Discord account, you get into our supporter-only Discord, you get private chat time with us, you get videos like this one early, and you get to play multiplayer games with us at least once a month. But of course, the most important thing that you can do to help support the channel is just subscribe, that's it. And share this video with a friend who has big, meaty hands and doesn't like playing in portable mode. Maybe you can suggest something to help them out. Thank you guys very much. Have yourself a good week.